الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم اسمنا من الشيطان الرجيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي صلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Today, inshallah, we'll continue our lessons from the Holy Quran. Alhamdulillah, we have been eagerly waiting for this holy month of Ramadan a few weeks ago. And now the 2/3 of this holy month is gone. And we are in the last 10 days of this blessed month, which we may not see the next year. Allah Akbar. Therefore, it is essential that we make the best of these last 10 days of this holy month. Allah blessed us with His mercy in the first 10 days of the holy month, free of charge for everyone. Every single believer was blessed with the unlimited mercies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the first 10 days. Alhamdulillah. In the next 10 days of this holy month, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave the sins of those people who repented and who asked for His forgiveness and who made tawbah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wiped off all our sins. Now, in these last 10 days, we are praying and hoping to be saved from the hellfire. Very, very important last 10 days. However, this blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be granted for free. Even though we may keep reciting Allahumma ajirna min an-nar, Allahumma ajirna min an-nar, Allahumma ajirna min an-nar, but that dua itself will not be sufficient. For this dua to be accepted, oh Allah, save us, protect us from the hellfire. For this dua to be accepted, we do need to understand what will take us to hellfire. And how to protect ourselves from ending up in there. And we would need to make right choices and act righteously. And we will also need to understand who are our friends and our enemies on this journey to avoid being sent to hellfire and to be entered in paradise. Who would be in our way? This is our topic of today. From the lessons of the Holy Quran, Allah has clearly identified our arch enemy and his forces who would put their efforts, untiring efforts, to prevent us from being saved to go to hellfire. Who are those enemies? Who are those forces that will leave no stone unturned to make sure that we do go to hell, that we are not saved? I'm going to recite some verses of the Quran, inshallah, and then I'll explain. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ قلنا للملائكة اسجدوا لآدم فسجدوا إلا إبليس قال أأسجد لمن خلقت طينا قال أرأيتك هذا الذي كرمت علي لئن أخرتني إلى يوم القيامة لأحتنكن ذريته إلا قليلا. Very important. قال اذهب فمن تبعك منهم فإنما جهنم جزاؤكم جزاء موفورا واستفزز من استطعت منهم بصوتك وأجلب عليهم بخيلك ورجلك وشاركهم في الأموال والأولاد وعيدهم وما يعيدهم الشيطان إلا غرورا إن عبادي ليس لكم عليهم سلطان وكفى بربك وكيلا. قال ربي بما أغويتني لأزينن لهم في الأرض ولأغوينهم أجمعين ثم لآتينهم من بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم وعن أيمانهم وعن شمائلهم ولا تجد أكثرهم شاكرين. Astaghfirullah. May Allah protect us. When we said to the angels, bow down before Adam, they bowed down except for Iblis, the shaitan. He said, shall I bow down before someone you created from mud? He took pride in him being created from the fire, which he thought to be a superior element than mud. He said, do you see this person whom you have honored more than me? He was being sarcastic. He was being sarcastic to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, do you see this person that you created? And you honored them more than me? I promise you, if you delay my end, if you don't let me die until the day of resurrection, I will certainly destroy his descendants, except a few. Allah said, be gone. Go away from here. He granted him life until the day of resurrection. And he said, whoever of them follows you, hell is your reward and ample reward. And tempt them, whomever of them you can with your voice, and assault them with your mounted and ground soldiers, and share with them in their wealth and children, and make promises to them. Allah gave them those permissions to do those things to us, you and me, and all humankind. But shaitan promises them nothing but delusions, Allah said. As for my devotees, you have no authority over them. Your Lord will be an adequate guardian for them. Shaitan said, my Lord, for allowing me to stray, I will surely tempt them on earth and mislead them altogether, except your chosen servants from among them. And then I'll come from them in front of them, from the back of them, from their right and from their left, and you will not find most of them grateful to you. Allahu Akbar Kabira, may Allah forgive us all. And in Surah Saba, Allah mentioned when He led the people of Saba to not be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. that Allah said in the Quran, and he found his assumption true, that he led most of these people to be ungrateful to me. My dear brothers and sisters, the reason I have made this the topic for today is that these last 10 days are extremely important. And we all want to be saved from the hellfire. This is the 10 days for us. This Ashura is specifically meant for us to be saved from the hellfire. But it's not going to happen by itself. Because we have a very major, huge enemy who is present with us. And he's trying as hard as he can not to let us go to paradise, to go to hell with him and be his company. And Allah has given them the permission. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then warned us. He said, فَقُلْنَا يَا آدَمُ إِنَّ هَذَا عَدُوٌّ لَكَ وَلِزَوْجِكَ فَلَا يُخْرِجَنَّكُمَا مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ فَتَشْقَى. O Adam, this is a clearly demonstrated enemy to you and to your wife. Do not let him make you leave this garden of paradise. So then you will suffer. فَوَسْوَسَ إِلَيْهِ الشَّيْطَانُ قَالَ يَا آدَمُ هَلْ أَدُلُّكَ عَلَى شَجْرَةِ الْخُلْدِ وَمُلْكٍ لَا يَبْلَى. Shaitan whispered to them, said, O Adam, shall I show you the tree of immortality and the kingdom that never decays? فَأَكَلَا مِنْهَا. So they ate from it. فَبَدَتْ لَهُمَا سَوْآتُهُمَا وَاتَّفِقَا يَقْصِفَانِ عَلَيْهِمَا مِنْ بَرَقِ الْجَنَّةِ. As soon as they ate from it and disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their bodies became visible to them. The clothing of paradise was removed from them. And they started covering themselves with the leaves of the garden. Thus, Adam disobeyed his Lord and fell. He just made the promise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he would lead every child of Adam and Adam to disobey him. He just made that promise not too long ago. And Adam and Eve were the only human beings at the time. And he started his efforts right then. Right then, he did not wait for them to be sent down to the earth and to have children. He started his efforts right then. He whispered to Adam and Eve, should I tell you something that would make you stay here forever? That you won't have to go down to the earth? That you will be immortal and there'll be no decay for you here. On the earth you're going to die. And he got them. Brothers, pay attention. He got them. The very first human being and his wife, created by Allah's own hands, given only one command. How many? Just one. Don't eat from this tree. Just one. And he entrapped them. He lured them into disobeying. When he did this, it gave him hope. I said, wow. If the very first one that Allah has honored above me, and I just proved that I can lead him astray, that I can get him to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only one human being created by Allah himself. He had lots of hope. He says, the rest of them will be no problem. I got their father and their mother. The rest of them won't be any problem at all for me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned us, Ya bani Adama, La yaftanannakum ash-shaytanu kama akhraja abawaykum min al-jannati yanzi'u anhuma libasahuma liyurihuma sawatihima innahu yarakum huwa qabiluhu min haythu la tarawnahum inna ja'alna ash-shayatina awliya'a lil-ladzina la yu'minun. O children of Adam, let not Shaitan tempt you as he removes your parents from paradise, stripping them of their clothing to show them their private parts, to show them their private parts. Indeed, he sees you and his tribe from where you cannot see them. We have made the devils ally to those who do not believe. And Allah said, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu la tattabi'u khutuwati shaitan. وَمَنْ يَتَّبِعْ خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ فَإِنَّهُ يَأْمُرُ بِالْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ. O you who believed, do not follow the footsteps of Shaitan. And whoever follows the footsteps of Shaitan, indeed he enjoins immorality and wrongdoing. After giving us these warnings, Allah said to all of them, Ihbitu, go away from this paradise. قال ihbitu ba'dakum li ba'd adu wa lakum fil ardi mustaqarrun wa mata'un lahin. Get down, being enemies to one another. On the earth shall be your abode and sustenance for a time. And now we are here, down on this earth. Enemies to one another, Shaitan being our enemy, and us being the enemy of Shaitan. Now you might say, how can we be an enemy to Shaitan? We can't even see him. What can we do to him? He can do all kinds of things to us, but what can we do to him? And Allah says, enemies to each other. Of course. As Shaitan is an enemy to us, and his intent is to keep us from disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we defeat his intent, if we defeat his clever moves to get us to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we become his enemy. And he's afraid of us. He wants to stay away from us because he knows he cannot conquer us. We know Shaitan would not cross the path that Umar radiallahu anhu walked. He was afraid of him. Why was he afraid of him? Because he could not trap him. Umar radiallahu anhu was so strong in his iman, was so strong in his faith and his deeds and his consistency in his faith and his practice of his faith, that Shaitan had lost all hopes and he was afraid of him. So we are an enemy to him as well. Now let's understand this enemy, his resources and his forces better, so that we are able not to be trapped by him and destroyed by him. Iblis, the leader of the shayateen, his lifespan increased to the day of resurrection. You and you and all of us are going to die. He will continue to live on. And he was given the opportunity to do whatever he can do. Whatever he can do. Man istata'ata. Whatever is in your power to do. To lead us astray and to lure the children of Adam and tempt them to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As he did disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. He was granted freedom to whomever he could lead astray and make promises to them and assault them with his voice, his soldiers mounted and on ground, and share with them in their wealth and in their children and make false promises to them. So he's not going away anywhere. If we try to get rid of him, if we somehow say, what can we do to make him disappear? Just go away. That's not happening. He will continue to do his job with us and after us with our children. And he would continue to use his voice, bisawtika, to call upon us to disobey him. How can we recognize his voice and other voices that he uses? If all of us who are sitting here, there are thoughts going through our minds all the time, am I right? How do we recognize that this voice is the voice of Shaitan? It's a very easy way, there's a very easy way to recognize when Shaitan speaks to you in his mind, in his heart, and your heart. Because he always speaks of evil and creating doubts. Most of the thoughts, most of his voices come to us in the form of creating doubts. He says, what if? What if this? What if that happens? And those doubts can never be answered because it has not happened yet. So you become perpetually anxious. You become perpetually depressed and losing hope and anxious, not wanting to try anything because what if this? What if I failed? What if I fell? What if? This is one way to recognize it. The second way to recognize the voice of Shaitan in your mind is when he tempts you like he did Adam alayhi salatu salam. What did he say to him? Shall I not show you a way that will make you immortal? You will live here forever. You will never have to go down to earth and die. He says, yeah, for sure. This is exactly what he does to us. Should I not show you a way for you to have this fun too and get this device too? Can I not show you how to use this app and you can see all these great things? Shall I not show you? And he tempts us. And those are the voices of Shaitan, because everything that he's tempting you for, he's luring you to, is disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is committing a sin. But my dear brothers and sisters, and especially children who are sitting here, how would you even know if he's tempting you to do a sin if you don't know what sins are? If we don't know what sins are, how would we know? And this is our weakness. If we want to be saved from hellfire, we need to know, we need to learn what are sins. what will I do that will be in disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah will be angry with me? Allah will not be happy with me. What are those things? For example, Mufassirin have explained, the scholars of Quran have explained, that his voice are not his waswas only, but he uses his human forces and his other resources as his voices. So your friend, my friend, your friend comes to you and says, hey, did you know about this concert that's going on? Hey, this great singer is coming. Hey, I got some tickets for you. I bought the tickets. Don't worry about it. Just go with me. Now you see there's nothing wrong with it. Everybody's going to concerts. What's wrong with that? It's just some fun. We are allowed to have some fun. What's the big deal? And I don't have to pay for it. It's free. My friend has bought the tickets. These voices of your friends are shaitan's voices also. And music, scholars have said that music and musical instruments are also voices of shaitan. Songs, lewd and fahish, shameful songs, and loud and slow music that puts you to rest are all voices of shaitan. Now let me explain to you so you understand what I'm saying. How is music and musical instruments are voices of shaitan? Music has an effect on us mentally, psychologically, and spiritually. Music has an influence on us, physically, mentally, and psychologically, spiritually. I'm sure that you have seen this. When music is played around people, especially even young babies, what do you see the people do? They dance. They begin to dance to the music. Even little babies, small infant babies, play music to them and they'll begin to dance. If they're going to stand up, they'll begin to move. Am I right or wrong about that? Loud music creates craziness. Have you seen how people behave in the concerts? What are they doing? Their eyes are closed. They are like intoxicated, am I right? Music is intoxicating. Please understand that. It's not that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to have fun. But He does not want to have those fun that would destroy us, that would cause harm to us. Music is destructive. Even those music which are supposed to be giving you calmness, especially the flute music. When the music is played, and even if it is calming, your mind stops working. Your mind is relaxed. You can't think for yourself. This is why music is used for meditation and putting for people to sleep, am I right? In the hospitals, they'll play this nice, slow, melodic music. And people just go to sleep. They are hypnotized. Let me repeat. They are hypnotized. And when you are hypnotized, you are vulnerable. You become vulnerable. Then shaitan can put whatever thoughts in your minds and you will accept it. Because your mind is no longer thinking. Those are also voices of shaitan. Now let me ask you. Like I always say, the purpose of my talk is not to give information. The purpose of my talks is to make you think. How many of our children and adults are listening to the music these days? Am I right or wrong about this? And they don't see anything wrong with it. And now, even some so-called ulama are bringing justification for it. And making ways where, okay, yeah, you can do this, but you can do this, you can do it. No, let's not do that. If you are going to listen to music, you know that you are putting yourself in harm's way and becoming vulnerable to shaitan. Know this. At least know this. And don't say, no, that's not true. If you say, no, that's not true, you have become the soldier of shaitan. Please understand this. Humans are the soldiers of shaitan. Those humans who have lost their faith, who have lost their aqaid, who have lost the understanding of what's really right and what's wrong, and who lead other people astray in the same way of thinking, they are all soldiers of shaitan. In those days, like Allah mentioned, bring in your armies of horses and your armies on foot. But we don't ride horses. So bring in today the armies of your forces riding their fancy cars and their fancy motorbikes and their fancy planes, because that's what impresses people. Oh, look at this guy. Look what he's driving. He's driving a Mercedes. My God, he must be rich. He must be really cool. Those are all the armies of shayateen. And they come to you and say, hey, Bilal, would you like to ride in my car? In Mercedes? Sure, why not? You're such a good friend. Sit down. And they take you to some more friends. And they give you something to vape. Hey, take a taste of it. It was vaping. Nothing wrong with it. Those are all the armies of shaitan. Are you one of them? That's what this lecture is all about. Are you one of the soldiers of shaitan? If so, like Allah said, hell is your abode, an ample abode. No salvation for you. Last 10 days, doesn't matter. If you did not understand your enemy, if you did not understand what would lead me to hellfire, what would save me from the hellfire, you and me saying Allahumma ajirna minan nar is not going to do any good. He makes false promises to us. He gives us wrong hopes. Allah said it. All His promises are false. But because we are so needy and greedy, because we are so greedy, greed is part of our nature. He gets us through this greed and He makes promises to us. And He never fulfills His promise. He never will fulfill His promise. As soon as He traps you, He will just leave you there hanging. Some people, when I speak like this, they say, well, how come shaitan is not bothering all these other people? All these people are all having all kinds of people, Christians, Jews, Buddhists, Hindus. How come shaitan is not doing anything to them? They're all having fun in that. They're all his soldiers. Why does he have to go to them? They're his armies. He's not bothered by them. He doesn't need to do anything with them. They are his partners in crime. That's why we are the only ones who he focuses on. And he will not stop. Waswas will come. Your bad friends will come, always be there. If one is gone, the other one will come. Devices and apps and musics, all of this will come. If you throw away one, the next one will come. There are people who say, I do not allow my children any devices. There are no devices in my home. We don't have any televisions. We don't have any devices. I don't allow this to my children. I said, that's mashallah, very good. Are your children home all the time? Are your children home all the time? They're out there. Are they with their friends? Do they go to school? Do they visit their friends? Do the friends have devices? Are there devices in the school? There is no way out of it. He has led his trap so wide. He has led his trap so wide, we can't get out of it. The only way to protect ourselves is to be mindful of the choices we make. Be mindful of how we act. Be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and know I cannot protect myself from shayateen and his forces, but Allah can. But Allah can protect me from shayateen and from my own nafs. Brothers, we have two enemies, two arch enemies. One is outside of us, which we just talked about, and one lives right in here. Protecting yourself from who lives in here is very difficult, because you don't recognize him as an enemy. You know who that enemy is inside you? Nafs. And why is the nafs enemy? Because he's also always tempting you. He's always tempting you. He's saying from inside, look, so-and-so is doing it. They are going to the concert. They are vaping. They are having parties. Everybody's going there. What's wrong with you? You're such a bore. You're such a nerd. You're no cool at all. These voices come from inside. You're no cool at all. You're not cool. I was talking to one young guy. It was a long time ago. He had gotten into some bad company and started to smoke, and he was being used by his friends to sell drugs in the school that he was going to. And he was ultimately expelled from the school, and his parents brought to me for counseling. And I talked to him. He was, I think, about 13, 14 years old. And I said, son, what happened to you? And amongst the other thing that he said, I just wanted to be cool like my friends. I just wanted to be cool like my friends. Instead of cooling, he ended up in the hell. So don't go after these things. Beware of what is inside. When even your inside incites you, tries to tempt you to do wrong things, know this is wrong. A wrong is wrong is wrong. It can never be right under any circumstances unless those circumstances where Allah gave you exception in. When Allah gave you an exception, that's okay. But outside of it, a wrong is a wrong is wrong. There's nothing, a wrong can never be right, period. But we need to understand what are those wrongs. And in these last 8-9 days, find out, make an effort of what is all wrong, what is all that if I'm not mindful of, that would lead me to hellfire. And Allah will not protect me from it, even in these last 10 days. And what am I doing that I must not do now? I must not listen to these musics. I must not give myself false feeling of, protection that, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. It's not going to happen to me. I'm not addicted to it. No problem. This is just for fun. We need to stop doing it. Every time you turn on your iPhone, your smartphone, your computer, think. Beforehand think, what am I going to do today on this device? And what I will not do, regardless. If you leave here today thinking about this and saying, I am going to be mindful. I do want to be spared from hellfire. I do want this final blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He says, I have spared you from hellfire. I accepted your dua, Allahumma ajirni min nar. I accepted it. And it's just going to take a little effort. And that effort will begin here. You would have to tell yourself, I need to do this for my own sake. I need to change the way I am. I can't afford to continue like this. Because what if I never see this month again next year? What if I die before? This is my only chance. Once you begin to think like this and you become mindful, when you leave here, you will watch your every step to see if I'm doing something wrong. If something comes and say, hey, let's go outside. No, we're in the masjid, not outside. If somebody is running through the masjid, come on. No, running through the masjid is not allowed. This is the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to respect it. Kids talking out there. No, shh. House of Allah. Be mindful. No. If you can't stop them, don't worry. Choose not to do it yourself. Choose not to do it yourself. And if each one of us did it, then inshallah we will reap this last 10 days reward as well. And when we say Allahumma ajirna min nar, Allah would say, I accept it. I accept it because I saw your efforts. I accept it because I saw your heart crying over the things that you did and you're making tawbah for it. I accept it because you are realizing your weakness and you are seeking my help. And I have promised that this shaitan will not have any control over my sincere servants. And I see your sincerity over my servants. I see your sincerity and I will protect you from hellfire. What do you think? Worth it? اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى سيدنا محمد. ربنا تقبل منا صلاتنا وصيامنا وقيامنا وركوعنا وسجودنا ودعاءنا يا ارحم الراحمين. ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الحشر وقنا عذاب الميزان. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم توفني مسلما والحقني بالصالحين. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله أجمعين برحمته يا آمين. Tomorrow, inshallah, after Asr, we'll continue with the advices of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Inshallah.